Very good morning. So here we have an open interface of Geomagic Design X Go. So on the top, you have a few layouts. So here you have your Home tab. The Home tab is the collection of the most frequently used tools. Following that, you have a tab for Live Capture. This is where you can connect your scanners. We support a few handheld scanners with Design X Go and scan into the software. Following that, you have a tab for working with point clouds data. You have a tab for working with polygons, regions, aligning your scan data. You have a sketch palette, a 3D sketch palette, the model tab, which will contain all the tools that you need for creating solids and surfaces. And here you have your auto surface tab. And towards the left, you have your model tree in this particular area where you see my cursor. And here you have the portion of the model tree that contains the completed elements. On the right side, you have three tabs: the Properties tab here, a Display tab, and an Accuracy Analyzer tab. So this is how the interface is oriented. Now, you can practice by clicking here on Import. So you can see here on Import, and the Import option is to import your scan data. So you can go to Import, and you can navigate to your folder of interest. So this will bring in your folder of interest, and I can go ahead and import any particular file that I want. So we work with all the different types of CAD and scan file formats. So I can go here to day 1, and you'll see a file here called 1_basic_part.stl. So here, when you click on this, you'll be provided with some particular settings. So ensure that you have this use custom settings turned on, and you have this points only turned off. And here you have the units bar, in which you have to choose the units in which the object was scanned. So if the object was scanned with a millimeters settings, you can click here on millimeters and say import only. Now, the moment you say import only, the software is going to import the particular mesh. And here in the model tree, you will have something called 1_basic_part. So this is an object which is a mesh body. So you can click on this particular mesh body, and if you go inside the Properties tab, it'll contain some of the details. It says the name is 1_basic_part. The type of the entity is a mesh. It also gives you some other details like the bounding box dimensions. Like if you make a bounding box for this scan, what are the dimensions in millimeters? And here you have the number of triangles and the number of points. And you also have 3 bars here for volume, area, mass, center. So if you want to calculate the center of mass, you can click calculate, and it will provide the information appropriately. So this is the Properties tab. For any particular part that you import, you will be able to see the basic details upon clicking here. So if you click here, it will change to front. So I'm clicking on the front plane. It gives me, okay, the name is front. The type is a reference plane. The position is 0, at the origin, and the normal is 0, which is the z-axis. So we'll first start by learning the mouse controls. So if you click on your scroll wheel, and if you scroll out, it will scroll the body outwards. It will zoom out. If you scroll it in, it will scroll the body inside. So scroll out is to zoom in and zoom out. So you can practice the scroll button on your mouse. You can scroll in either directions to scroll in and out. Now to rotate this particular body, you can click and hold your right mouse button. Click and hold your right mouse button, and you can rotate this particular body. So for the rotation of this particular object, it's click and hold the right mouse button and rotate. So you can practice this as well a few times. You can rotate it in any direction. You can click and hold the right mouse button and rotate the body this way. This is to rotate this particular object. So as I said, scroll wheel is to zoom in and zoom out. Right mouse button hold is to rotate this particular body. Now, you can hold Control on your keyboard and then hold the right mouse button to pan. So hold Control on your keyboard and then hold the right mouse button. And after that, you can move your mouse. So hold Control and right mouse button together. And when you move your mouse, then you'll be able to pan this particular body. So you can try practicing like zoom in and then do a pan and then try rotating this particular body as per your convenience. And the default mouse controls are also provided in this particular box. So if you click where you see my cursor, when you click it on, it is going to expand and show you the mouse controls. So here we have select an entity, ignore mesh file selecting, rotate is this right mouse, followed by moving this particular body. So here you have pan, which is click both of these mouse together and move your mouse. And you have all these mouse controls. So you can click back to hide that particular interface. And if you go here on the top where you see my cursor, there should be something called preferences. So if you click on where it says preferences, it is gonna open this particular box for you. So here you have a few settings that you can change as per your interest. So firstly, to start with, in data save, we have something called enable automatic recovery. If this is set to false in your system, you can set it to true. This will ensure that for every X minutes, and you can set the value here. I've set it to 30 minutes. If you want, you can set it to, let us say, 40 minutes and say OK. So for every 40 minutes, the software will automatically save an recovery file. So in case of a crash or something, the next time you launch the software will prompt you to open the recovery file. So this is data saving settings in general in preferences. So we can set it to true and set a timing, like every 30 minutes or 40 minutes, you can set it to active. And right below that here, you have something called enable automatic save reminder. So you can get this setting in true as well. And there's a value that you can say if I'm changing this to 15, after every 15 minutes, in the bottom section, I'll get a reminder to save my particular model. So this is the data save settings. And here we have the view and the mouse control settings. So the default is the Geomagic interface. However, if you're more familiar with the mouse controls in SolidWorks, NX, Creo, or CATIA, or Polyworks, you can pick any of these. Say if you're familiar with SolidWorks, you can choose SolidWorks there. And the mouse controls from SolidWorks would be updated, and you can use those mouse controls. For example, you can use the middle scroll button to rotate the body if you choose SolidWorks. I'm going to put it back to default, which is the Geomagic controls that I just explained to you. And here you have the zooming center of the mouse wheel scroll. So if it's in screen center, when you zoom, wherever you're zooming, it's going to zoom to the center of the coordinate system. And if you place it in mouse position, it'll zoom to where you have your mouse. So in general, mouse position is easier to use. So I would advise to keep this in mouse position. And over here in the undo settings, you have the undo depth. So the default is 50, which is more than enough. It just means that you can press Control Z up to 50 times. So this is the undo depth. And in the bottom, you have 2 units, default input scanner. So this is the units in which the objects are scanned. You also get an option to change this during import, but I have set it to millimeters. And default measurement unit is your units that you're going to use in your sketches, the units that you measure inside Geomagic. So here, if you're going to go with inches or meters, you can pick the units accordingly and save it. So I'm going to put it in millimeters, and then I can say apply and OK. So this is going to save these settings. You can go here in preferences anytime. It's on the very top is this folder with a settings field. You can click on there where you see my cursor, and it will open up the preference. And if you need any other language, you can go to locale and change the language from any other language other than English. You can change it. And here you have a few other display related settings for the size and width of the text, fonts, etc. It can be changed here. And after the change has been made, you can click on OK. Now, here we can see that in the bottom side, our mesh is imported, and it shows that it's 1_basic part. So close to the object, there is an eye icon, like a radio button. So if you click on the radio button, it's going to hide this particular model. Likewise, you can click back on it to show it. So very carefully observe where my cursor is. So you can click on it to show and then toggle it again to hide. The same concept applies for reference planes. So we have the front, the top, and the right reference plane. So if I want to hide the front plane, I just click here and it's hidden. Similarly for the top, I click here for the right. Now if I want to show it again, I just reselect and click on this radio button to show all of them. Now we can see that all the planes are added in a bigger container called reference planes. So if you hide this particular icon here when everything else is showing, it'll hide all the planes. So you can use this to hide planes and show all planes. And if you want to hide the individual planes, like hide the front plane, you can click here and hide them and click back to show them individually. The same applies for mesh bodies. If you want to hide all meshes, you can click hide and all the meshes would be hidden. And for the individual items, you can go to the child part, say 1_basic part here, and click. You can toggle them on and off to hide and show. So you can like zoom in a bit, and I'm gonna explain some renderings that you can see, and as well as some selections. So here you see some renderings. This is the renderings for the mesh. So if you want to view this mesh as a point set, you can choose the first option, and it will view the object. It will render it as a point cloud. So here you see the object as a point cloud. Below that, you have the second option, which is wireframe. So this is a wireframe body, and it is transparent. You can also use the shortcut F5 for rendering as a point cloud, F6 for rendering as a transparent body. And the third option that you see here is shaded. This is the most common option that would be used. So this is shaded without edges. It usually provides you with a clean interface, as you can see. So you click here in this drop down, and the third option, where you see my cursor, shaded without edges. The option after that is F8, which is shaded with edges. It just shows the edges of the triangles in your particular mesh. And after that, you have something called curvature. So if you click on curvature, the software will by default plot the curvature of this mesh. So you can zoom here and see that there are a lot of colored zones. So you see that this convex area is shaded in red because there's a more higher variation in curvature, and that area is like filleted. That's why it's showing in a deep red. This concave area is shown in a blue color. This fillet is inverse, so it's shown in a deep blue color. And the gradually varying areas have a more of a yellow coloration. So this is how you can plot the curvature, and it has a scale here. So you can double click on that number and change it accordingly. So if I'm changing it to 0.1 here and then clicking again on screen, it will make it appear a bit darker. So here we can kind of take a look and see how the faces of the polygons are changing by viewing the curvature. And anytime if you want to go back, so this yellow dot, this yellow icon here is the curvature. So if you want to go back to your shaded mode, you can click shaded. So this is how you can view this particular body in different styles. And coming towards the side, right now where I have my cursor, these are your standard views. So you can expand that, and like in CAD, you'll see that there's the front view, back view, left side view, right side view, top view, bottom view, and isometric view. So you can click on one of them. You can click on the first one, front view, and the object will automatically be lined in the front view. You can click here and select the back view to flip the view back to the back side. Likewise, you have left side view, you have right side view, you have your top view, and you have your bottom view. And lastly, you can select the isometric view. So these are your view selections. Alternatively, you can also use the shortcuts Alt-1 for front, Alt-2 for the back view, Alt-3 for the left side view, Alt-4 for the right side, Alt-5 for the top view, Alt-6 for the bottom view, and Alt-7 for the isometric view. So if you click and if you hover, the software shows the shortcuts. It clearly says front view in brackets Alt+1. So you can click Alt+1 in your keyboard, and the body would be oriented in the front side view. And the icons that you see here besides are for rotating the body 90 degrees in the anti-clockwise direction. So if you click this button once, it rotates it 90 degrees anti-clockwise. If you click it twice, it does that again. So from any view that you are present, you can rotate this to rotate the model in the counterclockwise view. And for the clockwise view, you can use this next button here. You can click where you see my cursor to rotate the body counterclockwise. So here you have rotation clockwise and counterclockwise. And you can also like flip the view, and you can still rotate it counterclockwise and clockwise in 90-degree increments. And the icon next to that is the flip viewpoint. So you can click on flip viewpoint, and you can flip the entire model 180 degrees. So you can keep it in any view. So you can keep it in, let us say, the left side view. And if you click flip 180 degrees, it's gonna flip towards the back side of that particular view. So you can click this flip 180 degrees where you see my cursor, and you'll notice that it'll flip it back and behind. And likewise, the next icon that we have is the normal to icon. So this is to orient it to the normal direction. So you can select that particular button, and let us say you want to select orient the model normal to this face, and you click on that triangle, and automatically you can see that the body is oriented to that direction. So to show it again, you can hover over this particular mode, select that mode, and then click, and the body would automatically be rotated to that particular orientation. So here we saw our rendering icons where we can render as a point cloud, as a wireframe body, as the shaded body, and also render the curvature of this particular mesh. And following that over here, we have the standard views that you can use. So Alt 1, 2, 3, Alt 4, 5, 6, and 7. And you can rotate the bodies using the clockwise, anti-clockwise, and flip viewpoint methods. Now, towards the side of that particular option, we have the line selection mode, the rectangular selection mode, the circular, the polyline, the lasso, and so on. So from here, from this, you have your selection modes. So selection modes are very simple. So here we have the first example, which is line selection mode. You can zoom in and you can make a click on the left mouse button, hold your mouse, and then you can drag. So when you make a particular drag and drop like that, you're going to see that the areas that you selected are in a turquoise color. So it's very simple. Let's click on the mouse. And when you have the mouse, you can hold the mouse and drop it. So left click, hold, and you can drop somewhere. So here, the triangles that you have selected are shaded in a turquoise color. So you can practice it a few times. So click somewhere like that with your left mouse button. Please hold your mouse the entire time. Move your mouse and place it. And if you go here to properties, it would say it has selected some polyfaces. Polyfaces is just another name for triangles. So if you want to select these triangles, you can just select triangles around a line and say OK. Now, when you're trying to add something to your selection, so let us say you click here and you drop, you can see that the initial selection is lost. So in order to add to your selection, please hold Shift on your keyboard and then make your selection. So holding Shift on your keyboard will let you add as many polygons as you need for your selection. Like that. So you can hold Shift on your keyboard and add as many polyfaces as needed. And the next mode is the rectangular selection mode. So this operates in the same way. So you can make a drag box and it will select all the triangles on that particular drag box that you made. So you can click, make it the drag box and drop it. Like that. Click, make the drag box and drop. Always the selected icons would be shown in a turquoise kind of a color, and the same key applies here too. So if you want to add to your selection, you can hold Shift and you can add to your selection this way. You can add multiple areas. They need not be in contact, so you can add a selection like this. You can select some polygons here, here, and so on. And say you want to remove a selection. Now we learned that the Shift key is to add, so you can hold Shift and add. But if you want to remove, let us say, this area and this area, you can hold Control on your keyboard and remove it. So Shift is to add. So if I hold Shift and make a drag box, it'll add to my selection. And if I want to remove, I can hold Control and make a drag box to to remove the elements that are selected. So if I wanted to remove some areas in the middle here, I can hold Control on my keyboard, make my drag box, and leave it. So that is going to remove these particular areas from my selection. And likewise, we have the circular selection mode here. It operates in the same way, but it's just that you can select a center point and then select as a circle. So I can select a central point like this and increase the size and make a circular selection. This is the circular selection mode. Same operations, Shift to add and Control to remove. Besides that, you have your polyline selection mode. So in the polyline selection mode, this is an important and very comfortable tool to use. So you can kind of zoom in and you can make a line. You can make a set of lines by doing single clicks like that. And finally, when you feel you have selected enough, you can do a double click and it will select all the areas that you can see here. So I will explain it again. So let us say you want to select the areas around this slot. You can go in any shape. So you can start by doing a single left click, and then you can move your mouse to this point, do another click, and then you get a second line. So click again, click again, click again, move your mouse to the new location, click again, and so on. So you can click as many times as you want, and when you want to finish your selection process, you can do a double click, and it will ensure that all the polygons that you selected and or within the part would be selected and highlighted in a turquoise color. Now, the lasso tool operates the same way. So you can also click on the lasso tool here where you see my cursor. These are all different selection modes, so the way they work is pretty much the same. So you can go to lasso selection mode and then make a freehand type of a lasso to select the elements that are needed. So if I wanted the elements around this, I can say make a lasso around it and it will select the elements as you can see here. I can make a lasso around this particular block and it will select these items. Now, one thing to note is that when you rotate your model after making this selection, you can see that some areas are not selected. So you see that these areas are not selected. There's a patch here which is not selected, and there's a patch here. So this is happening because the current selection is for visible only. So if you look at where I have my cursor, it's on visible only mode. This is like a toggle, so you can toggle it on and off. So when you toggle it off, it's going to select true. So now if I go ahead and make a selection elsewhere, say in this particular slot area, it is going to select everything in that particular area of selection, and it's going to select true. So if you rotate back, it also selected it on the opposite side. So if you don't want to select the opposite side, then you would have to go here and make a Control on your keyboard and select this area to remove it. So this is select true. So when I'm doing a select true, I'll also get the back side. Now if you want to change it to visible only, you can click this toggle here, and now if you select, it'll only select the visible items. So if I select something like this, on the back side it would not be selected since we are having our toggle on visible only. And here we have a few other selection modes. So we have the paintbrush selection mode, which you can click and hold your mouse like a paintbrush in the Paint software. So you can click, hold, and select objects this way. You can hold Alt on your keyboard and hold the left mouse button and move your mouse to increase the size. So you can hold Alt on your keyboard, click the left mouse button after that, and move your mouse whilst you have the left mouse button on hold to increase the size of this particular brush. So you can increase or decrease. Again, it's click Alt and hold the left mouse button and move your mouse to increase or decrease the size of the cursor. So you can increase the size of the cursor, and you can zoom in at an appropriate distance, and you can select objects with a single click as well. So that's the paintbrush tool, which you can find here. And anytime if you had made a selection, say like this, and if you want to deselect, you can either right click and say none, and it will make a deselection. So you can make a selection like this and then say right click and none. Or you can also say escape on your keyboard. So if you made a selection like this and if you hit escape on your keyboard, it's gonna deselect whatever selections that you had made. So here I have selected some area. You see the area highlighted in a turquoise color. Now when I hit escape, the selection is gone. So escape on the keyboard is a shortcut for removing any selections. And here we have a few other advanced selection mode. The main important item here is the Smart Selector tool, which you see in the very end here where my cursor is. This tool lets you select the triangles based on a curvature. So you can zoom in, and let us say I want to select the bottom flat area. You can click on that flat area and hold the left mouse button and move your mouse. This will grow and expand your selection based on the curvature. So if I wanted to select this flat zone, I can click here. I can see that it has selected a good amount of scan but not complete. So I hold my mouse and I move my mouse in one direction to expand, and I move it in the opposite direction to contract the selection. So this is the Smart Selector tool. You can click and practice. You can click, hold, and move your mouse. Click, the selection is small. Now you have it on hold, and you're moving your mouse, and you're increasing the size of your selection. And you can apply this on any areas. So here you can come to this sphere. You can see that it has selected a good amount of points. I hold my mouse and I move it in one direction to expand my selection so that I cover all the faces on that particular sphere. Likewise, I can come here. I can see that it selected some points. So I click, hold my mouse, and I expand. So this is a very handy tool. It's called Smart Selector. It's located at the very end. You can just click on the area that you want to select. You can hold your mouse and move your mouse to ensure that you're selecting more or less data based on the variation of the curvature in that particular area. So this here is your rendering icons, your view icons, and your selection icons in Geomagic Design X Go. In the next exercise, we will start by selecting certain faces like this and best fitting construction geometry and extracting vectors. Thank you.